everybody, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Carol, and I'm a freelance lifestyle journalist who also runs almostdiplomatic.com. It's where I share about my life as a millennial diplomat's wife, the good life on a budget, and currently living in and traveling from Berlin. For today's video, as you can see, we are not at home. I'm currently inside my husband's office at our embassy. It is a Saturday and he has some work to do, so I thought, why not just go with him and spend the day here and do my own work, so that every time he has a little bit of free time, then we could spend it together and have lunch during their lunch break. He's actually supervising the installation of lights and paroles outside the embassy, like for the facade, because they're decorating it for the Christmas tree lighting ceremony happening on the 4th of December. So my husband handles two portfolios, and one of them is the cultural portfolio of the embassy, so he has to supervise this for the cultural event happening on the 4th, and we're all very excited for it. And before I go any further with this video, I want to show you the artwork behind me is actually by a Filipino artist named Sofia Cope. And now that's all out of the way, we can proceed to today's video, which, as promised, is about how you can make friends when you start living abroad. I know it can be quite daunting, moving from your home country, leaving your family and your friends, your circle, and moving to a new country where you hardly know anyone is hardly a walk in the park. Yes, it's exciting, but it can also be quite scary and lonely at times. So if you want to make new friends and you don't know where to begin, here are some tips. First is put yourself out there. You can't just expect people to come over and start knocking at your door wanting to be friends. Most likely, hardly anyone knows that you exist in your new city, so you have to make the effort. One of the ways I met some of my friends in Kuala Lumpur and in Berlin is by joining Facebook groups targeted to expats in the city you are currently living in. I love joining such groups because you get advice and information that could be valuable for expats, and especially if you don't speak the language yet, it may be hard to get these particular bits of information, and these important things are normally discussed in such groups. In such groups, you can also be people who have been living in that country much longer than you have, and of course they usually have important information and really good advice that they can pass on to you. Don't be shy to post and ask questions, or ask if anybody ever wants to hang out. Throw out some of your interests, like vintage shopping, going out for coffee, or eating out. Most likely there will be someone who shares your interests, and they would probably comment and want to make new friends as well. But make sure to vet the person before going on a one-on-one meeting with someone, just to err on the side of caution. It's always better to trust your gut on these sorts of things. But another option would be to go out in bigger groups. I think it's always a more comfortable option, and most likely there will be more than one person who will answer your posts. So maybe getting a group together would actually make more sense, unless what you're looking for is a date. Another thing you can do is to join a community based on your interests. So since I do a lot of travel content for my journalism and my blogging, I joined Travel Massive, which is an online community here in Berlin, but they actually do have chapters all over the world. Well, in most major cities anyway, and they organize events for people who work in the travel industry or just have anything to do with that sector. So as someone who writes a lot about travel, then I joined. And they also invite the people who work in tourism organizations or travel operators, startups. So it's always a great place to go for networking. So through their events, I've met some friends and also met people who I could actually do some work with, and which was really, really great. At one point, I also did a writing seminar for their members, which was such a lot of fun for me. Back in Kuala Lumpur, I also joined a blogging community back when I was really new in blogging, and I met some lifelong friends there. In Europe, websites like Eventbrite or Meetup are great places to look for things that are happening in your city that involve not just expats, but also locals. It could be a co-working day or a charity event, a small concert, or even dinners. So it's also a great way to meet people, and not just expats. Of course, meeting locals in the city that you're living in actually helps a lot in either integrating or just immersing yourself in their culture. For diplomats and diplomatic spouses, there are usually organizations that cater cater to you in the city that you are living in. In Kuala Lumpur, we had the ASEAN Ladies Circle, where spouses of diplomats from ASEAN countries that were assigned in Kuala Lumpur were invited to join. We would attend cultural events and we would even do charity work. Here in Berlin, there's a Diplomatischer Stammtisch, which organizes events for diplomats, and their spouses are also invited. So this is usually an after-work thing, and they would work with restaurants or hotels to host the event, and the diplomats and their spouses would usually come, and they can network and make friends, which is always really, really fun to go to. And for the spouses here in Berlin, there is Willkommen in Berlin, which is a diplomatic spouse club with subgroups in it. And these are based on your interests, from history and politics. And there's also a group that goes to museums and palaces. There's another one dedicated to exploring Berlin. So there is always something for everyone. I also look at local publications targeted to expats because they are usually a great source of information, and they would usually have events for the expats in the city so that we could all network. Two of my closest friends from Kuala Lumpur I met at the Expatriate Lifestyle magazine. At one point, I was even writing freelance for Expatriate Lifestyle and also Esquire, which was under their magazine group. So that was really fun because it was like freelance work and play, and we just totally clicked. There was also a time when I was interviewed by the Expatriate Lifestyle magazine. So yeah, come to think of it, KL life was also really eventful, kind of like my life in Berlin. And sometimes I really miss KL, especially the nasi lemak. And of course, my friends. At these events, don't forget to smile. Nobody wants to approach a grump or somebody who thinks too highly of themselves that they won't even make the effort. If you spot someone who you think you might click with, just go ahead and approach them. Like, what's the worst that could happen anyway? Engage in some small talk and, make sure that you make a lasting connection with this person. And if you want more tips on that, I discussed that in detail in another video, which I will link up in the cards. For the first few months of you living in your new city, you just have to say yes to almost everything that you will get invited to. Of course, unless it goes against your morals or it's something that will get you into trouble. Not those. But if it's something, enjoyable, like a weekend hike, a gallery opening, drinks after work, just say yes. You have to give people time to get to know you, and you have to get to know them as well. So investing in time and meeting people more than once is important. Nobody becomes best friends after one meeting. So you have to get to know them, and you have to let them get to know you. It's kind of like dating, but in a friend social group kind of thing. There's also an app called Bumble, and I know it's known for being a dating app. However, it has a business version for people who want to network in their new city, or, the friend version where you can find people you can possibly hang out with. You can also ask for recommendations. Normally, when you tell your close set of friends from back home that say, hey, I'm moving to this country, and if they knew a person living there or in the city that you're moving to, then they will probably want you to meet their friend there. Another way you could do this is to just throw the information out there on your social networks. But please do it in a personal account, nothing too public, because you want vetted recommendations. Just post a Facebook status and say, hey guys, I'm moving to so-and-so city. Do you have any friends there? Maybe you can hook me up. But of course, you still want to be careful. Like, I had a workmate from before who wanted me to meet his friend who was moving to Malaysia as well, and I was very welcoming, helped her out and everything, but it turns out this girl and I just wouldn't click because she was really into drama. She was just looking for trouble and making up stories all the time. So it took me a while to really get her out of my life, and I learned my lesson the hard way. So from now on, even if you do get a vetted recommendation from a friend, then, sometimes people change, and it's something that you should learn. So always take everything with a grain of salt, and, get to know people for who they are, and not just based on what some people said. Not everyone will like you, so make sure that you go into this friend-finding mission with an open mind. And before you go and start looking for friends, make sure that you like your own company, as friends should only be an added value to your life and not a do-or-die type of thing. It can take time to form a new solid circle of people, and people who you genuinely look forward to hanging out with, and people who you could really trust and along the way, but definitely take your time. Have faith that you will find people who you can genuinely be yourself with, people you can open up to, spend good times, and you can also come to them when, times are rough. So up until this point, we've been talking about the different ways on how you can make friends once you start living abroad, as an expat, as a diplomat, or even as a diplomatic spouse. In the next video, I'll be changing things up a little and I'll be doing a video related to beauty. I think some of you already might know about this, especially if you've been subscribed here long enough, but I was actually making beauty videos back when my husband and I were in Kuala Lumpur. So do subscribe and hit that notification bell if you want to find out when that video is up. Do give this video a like if you enjoy these sorts of topics so I know to make more of them as well. And you can also follow me on Instagram because of course I post there more often, every day actually. So that is at Almost Diplomatic. And so before I go, the Filipino word of the day is kaibigan. Kaibigan. And that means friend. With that said, thank you so much for watching and I will see you guys again soon.